This is Annuity Straight Talk. Since 2008, your host, Bryan Anderson, has helped clients nationwide navigate the complex market for annuities. With Bryan's assistance, hundreds of clients have achieved a profitable and secure retirement. I would know, because Bryan has answered many of my questions concerning annuities and retirement planning. So that you can benefit as well, let's get started. Here's Bryan.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Annuity Straight Talk podcast, episode number 63. My name is Bryan Anderson, founder and creator of AnnuityStraightTalk.com. I wrote it all. I recorded it all. It's all came from right up here. Lots of research over lots of years and trying to compress that time period for you guys to make it a little bit easier to make a decision, because not all of you want to work on your retirement plan for 20 years. And today I'm going to tell you a story about one guy who might well spend 20 years continuing to ask questions and digging and doing research. But so episode 63, I kind of want to tell you guys a story about something I did in the past few weeks, and I got a chance to spend a little bit of time with a new client. Great guy. We get along really well. I kind of knew before we were going to do this that we'd have no problem camping together one night, but it made me think of all the coincidences that I've run into since I started the website. And it's because it's a small world. And let me see here. I don't know. Maybe I will share my screen. You guys can see it. So I wrote the story out like this. Let me get back there. And here we go. Because I am going to do some math at the end of this. It's not just the story. There's a little bit of a lesson here as well. And, okay, so talking about the coincidences, running into people, just crazy things happening. One of the funniest ones, the very first one that I remember is, I used to be a fishing guide in Alaska. I told everybody the stories about that. I've got more if there's a way to draw it into this. I may come back to it at some point, but there was a guy named Bob from Arizona, and I fished with him a bunch in Alaska, and he became a friend, and we kind of kept in contact. And I remember it was just a couple days after I put an 800 number on the website back in 2009. And I looked at, I got a phone call about, it was after 10, and it was Bob. I got a phone call one night, and I thought, I figured he's just calling to BS with me a little bit. And so I let it go to voicemail. And then, before I went to bed, I listened to the voicemail, and it was Bob. Bob was saying, "Hey, is that your annuity website?" I didn't know he was calling the 800 number. I thought he was just calling me. So, you guys know it, it forwards to my cell phone. So if your number's in my phone, caller ID pops up as well. So that was pretty funny, where he didn't know I was doing that, but we were friends, and he happened to be researching annuities at the time, and ran into my website and thought, wow, I had no idea this is what you're doing, which is pretty cool. So, but since then, there have been a lot of people that I meet who are friends that came to me independently, which is always pretty interesting to me. There's two people. It wasn't a referral of any sort, anything like that. But, as I, meet with them and get to learn more about them, like what they do, where they live, the things they do for activities, their career and all that stuff. A lot of times, like, hey, wait a second. Do you know John, or do you know Cindy or whoever? And yeah, as a matter of fact, they're a really good friend of mine. Oh, wow. That's interesting. I'm having meetings with them right now too. And go back and compare notes with each other. Hey, what'd you think of that guy? Pretty, it's just kind of interesting that it is a really small world. And I run into a lot of people say, oh yeah, I've been to Montana. It was great. And we were in your hometown, and, didn't have any idea you lived there, but we loved it and all that stuff. So it's always been kind of fun. And then this year, however, is probably one of the biggest coincidences that happened to me. So Kirk is the guy I'm talking about. So I'm going to tell you about him. Hell of a guy, like him a lot. And he signed up in late March, and he got, you get the emails when you sign up, and he responded to one of them and said, hey, I wanted to I was going to let you know, I come to Montana every year to go elk hunting in the bleep. I'm not telling you guys where I go elk hunting. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I said, because that's it was the same place I go hunting, and I thought, yeah, what does this guy know, right? And I did like he's an out of stater. He probably didn't know anything, and so I told him, yeah, I know the area, and I hunt there as well, and well, it turned out when we went back and forth a little bit, I hunted this national forest land on the edge of private ranches, and he and some friends had been leasing a week to hunt this private ranch that was right next to where he was camping was less than a mile away from uh where I was camping. So we were hunting two different I was hunting on one side of the border, he's on the other, but it was crazy. And I told him, I said, it's interesting. And what's funny about it is our dates lined up. It was always opening week is when he hunted. So we could go back and say this year, we were both there at the same time. We were that close to each other. And he didn't find me until he started researching annuities for his retirement. And so I always thought that was really, really a funny coincidence because we had something in common. We both love the place. It's it's an incredible spot. It's not very well known. It's beautiful, rugged country, and so it's just interesting to share that with someone that that you met through business dealings and online websites. So, anyway, so he goes with his buddies every year, and I go with my buddies every year. And I told them, I said, well, what's interesting. So I like to get up on the ridge tops. I'll ride my horse all the way up to the highest point so I can get a really good look around. And I'd see down on the private land, I could see the guys with orange vests on and stuff. And I told them, I said, I've probably looked at you through a rifle scope on more than one occasion. So, but now, yeah, carrying high powered rifles around again. I guess I better not screw things up for him because now he knows where I'm at. So anyway, Kirk's one of those guys that does a ton of research, asks a lot of really good questions. I love it because I like the more educated that you are, makes it easier for me to, explain different topics. Some people don't have a very big appetite for it and don't want to go into a lot of detail. Kirk is a detail-oriented guy, and I truly appreciate it because we come to some really solid conclusions and never going to have any questions, any concerns. And he's so thorough that sometimes he even asks questions twice. So, but I'm not going to give you a lot of details about his situation because that's his business, and I'm blessed to be a part of that. But it's not your business, and I believe you guys would understand and appreciate that. But he ended up splitting annuities, half of his allocation in a fixed annuity, half in an index annuity. I talked about it in episode 52, splitting annuities, the assurance of the guarantee, the potential of the index. Kind of splitting the difference because a lot of people are concerned, oh, well, the index annuity, what's the market going to do? Will the index annuity perform? And if you kind of like the index annuity, but you're not sure, then you split it up. You get half of one, half of the other. And it's worked really well for a lot of people. So he was one of the, kind of one of the inspirations for that episode. It's something I've been saying for a long time. He lives in the South, but he spends his summer, kind of near me, just a few hours away. From where I am at. So I actually got to deliver each of his contracts in person. The first one I mailed to him because I was going to be gone. But when he signed the delivery receipt, we actually, split the difference. We each drove an hour and a half and met at a little coffee shop. And it was, that's where we got the delivery receipt. And he came to the meeting with with the annuity contract. It's a, moderately thick book. It's 60, 70 pages and explains most of the stuff is irrelevant to the purpose you're using it for, but it's all the legal bindings that go with the contract. And he probably had 20 or so sticky notes marking the pages. And on each page, he highlighted the text that he had questions about. And I don't know, Kirk, we probably sat there for an hour and a half, and there was a lot of BS and talking about, outdoors, and we talked about hunting, we talked about what we do in the summer and all that stuff. And, but yeah, we got down to brass tacks and we went through every little piece of that contract that he might have a question about. I told him before we split up that day, I said, man, I should have brought the camera and everything, and we could have sat up and that would have been a perfect podcast. So if Kirk, if you want to recreate that, we can do that next summer because I think you're down south again. So, Anyway, but I love that type of interaction. So I would say probably, I don't know, probably 20 to 30% of people will actually go to that extent in trying to understand, making sure they know what to do. I love it because no, there's no surprises, and anybody who does that's going to completely understand the purpose, the commitment, and also be able to verify that I did in fact disclose everything relevant to the contract. So I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a great idea. Anyway, so we got to know each other pretty well. On the second contract, he was actually coming by my place because they did a little road trip this summer, and he got to stop by here and pick up his second contract. So we did the same thing, a lot more quickly because 90% of the information in an annuity contract is similar for all contracts. It's all state laws, required disclaimers, insurance guarantees, all that stuff. So the basic form of it is probably 90% similar for all contracts, and each company will write it out a little bit differently. But so the second time is a lot easier to go through. So one thing we talked about is hunting. Well, he actually had his tags and he was coming back to Montana for an elk hunt. And you guys know I went on a bow hunt because I had a special permit this year, but I was planning on going back to that same place to kind of return a favor to some friends and pack them back into the backcountry. That's a difference. Again, he hunts on the ranch where he can drive around a little bit, where I get on national forest and I'm going into the backcountry behind private land. And so it turned out that he and I were going to be there at the same time again. And I made an offer to him. I said, hey, because we'd hunted the same areas, and I thought I've always wanted to kind of see it from the ranch side, but I've never been able to. I didn't have access. And he's always been curious, of course. Like I said, he's a thorough guy. So he's kind of been curious to see what's on the other side. He got a different perspective. And I said, okay, well, if you come a day early, I think I went a couple weeks ago, it was on Wednesday. So this just happened a couple weeks ago. And on Wednesday, I got there early to, my friends lived in a town that's local. And I decided, okay, we'll make this easier. I'm going to pack the camp and the cooler and stuff in there on Wednesday. Then I'll come out on Thursday, get the final things I need, meet my friends, and Friday we'll come in for the hunt. And so I said, Kirk, if you can get there Wednesday, then why don't you ride into camp with me? We'll spend the night and then I'll bring you back out. You can meet your friends. All his friends were getting there on Thursday. And I said, you're going to get 24 hours with an annuity specialist. And it was. I think we met at the trailhead maybe around 2 p.m. on Wednesday, packed up and on the trail by 3:30 or so. And then I think we were out by 12:30 or 1 the next day. So not quite 24 hours, but pretty dang close. Since he likes to ask questions, I suspected we'd probably talk about annuities. This was a bit of a different trail ride than I'm used to. He was right behind me riding my other horse and just rapid fire questions the whole time, which is cool because it's what I do and what I'm comfortable with. But also it's like that's intermixed with talking about the area and, oh, wow, I've, seen this from there. And again, you just get a different look at what he's been doing for a long time. Pretty cool opportunity to do it. So his significant other said, hey, man, I'm glad you get to spend all this time with Bryan because maybe you'll get all your questions answered. You can stop talking about your retirement plan. Maybe drives her crazy because that's, again, the difference in a couple is one person maybe takes a greater interest in it and dives deeper into it than the other one. I'm not sure we got all of his questions answered, but he tried. So it was a really cool experience. Happy to pull it off. It's not something I can do for everyone, and there are a lot of reasons for that. Number one, I'm not an outfitter, and I don't get to spend all my time doing that. And number two, some people, wouldn't necessarily be comfortable on, big horses, big mules going into the backcountry. I've put 3-year-old kids on my mules and taken places. It's not a matter of the stock being safe, but it's just not something for everyone. Plus, and again, this is not to disparage anyone, but some people, I know a lot of people, like my dad has bad knees and he's in rough shape. It's hard for him to get up on the horse. When my dad goes with me, he can do it, but it's kind of a stretch for if someone, but he's done enough of it in his life that he kind of knows his way around. And so it's not something that everybody's physically capable of doing as well. So I can't, I like to take my aunt and her husband riding with us, and it's a lot of work because I've got 5 animals and I've got 2 extra people, and my aunt's too short to put her foot in the stirrup, so I have to lift her up to do it. I'm a tall guy. I got big animals, and I love them. So that's just the way it is. Anyhow, so it may happen one time, but no expectations, no promises. If things work out perfectly, I've got uh, another client from North Carolina that comes out here every summer. I wanted to take him and his son out, but I wasn't able to this year, and that might happen as well. So again, it's a possibility, but not a guarantee. Um, let's see. Okay, so one of the questions Kirk asked is kind of the reason why I thought this was a good thing to do. So he got to, tons of questions, retirement planning, RMDs. He's got a tax situation or tax. Um, he's got a tax pinch that he, likes to talk about and kind of try to think of ways around it. Um, it's just general stuff. All the things that I talk about, he just kind of wanted to reiterate everything, kind of get his mind wrapped around it. And he's a great dude, and I think he's good. He will be. He'll get to the point where he is fully in control of everything he's got. So, but he asked one question because rates have come up so much, and he said, and it kind of gave us a good lesson about where rates are today. He said, "Would there be anything wrong with putting all my money in annuities?" And I said, and I've written about this a lot in the past. There's a newsletter probably 3 years ago that says never put all your money into an annuity. And I wrote that because I was getting a lot of people calling me that said, oh, this one guy said I should put all my money into this annuity. And in that situation, it's not a good, that's a sales pitch to put all your money into an annuity. It's not you deciding to go all into annuities, if that makes sense. There's a big difference there because I do have some clients who are all in safe money, CDs, annuities, money market funds, majority annuities for some people with a lot of money in there. That's what they're comfortable with. They like it, but that's something they gradually got into over time and are very comfortable with it. It wasn't, a sales pitch on my part to say you got to put it all in there. It's just suitable for them because that's what they like. Anyway, so this is kind of a different question. I don't recommend doing it. I'm not saying you should, but when I got home, I ran the numbers for Kirk. Okay. And so he's got a nice portfolio, and I'm going to run my little spreadsheet here. Okay. Or not my spreadsheet, my amortization schedule. So hopefully you guys can see that. And I'm going to say 5% yield on a fixed annuity. So if you can see that in the center, and we're just going to assume $1 million portfolio, right? And depending on the size of your portfolio, you can ramp it up or ramp it down. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So his spending goals are 3% of his total assets. So $2,500 a month for 240 months, right? That's 20 years. So if he's 65, that gets him to age 85. We'll see what it does. If he put all of his money into an annuity and he spent his 3%. So what I do here is I've got a nominal rate of 4.889. That's compounded monthly, which creates a 5% effective annual yield. And these are just rough numbers because it's simple. It's not telling you what the rate in the market is. It's just doing math here. Okay. So all I'm gonna do is calculate for his remainder. So what do you think he's got left? $1 million, spends 3% for 20 years. And at the end of 20 years, he's got 1,645,000. Wow. Right. Now I would consider someone with a 3% spending goal, I would consider to be ideally capitalized for retirement. And not everybody's like that. Some are 4, some are 5. Some are higher, which is very sustainable depending on the age at which you start. So at 65, anywhere from 3 to 4%, game, set, match, we can take care of that, no problem. No matter what any of the publications say about the 4% rule. Obviously, I do it a little bit differently with a specific attempt to, or a specific goal of addressing the objectives of the traditional 4% withdrawal rule, the stocks and bonds and all that stuff, right? So somebody might say, oh, well, 30,000 a year, 3%. Well, that's not beating inflation. Okay, yeah, but you guaranteed to grow your portfolio to 1,645,000. Is there room to cover inflation? Yes. Is there room for long-term care? Yes. Did you avoid market volatility? Yes. Is there money for a legacy? Absolutely. Right? Are you paying fees? No. So 5%, like you'd have to pay an investment manager 1% to do that on $1 million. So then you'd have to get 6% in the market. So he avoids market volatility altogether, pays no fees, never has to worry about it. Game, set, match. So should he do it? I don't know. That's the result of it. Now we've got 5% range. We're out at 7 years or so. So you're not going to get it for the entire 20 years, but you can get 7 years of it covered and we'll see what happens then. Then you get a chance to redo everything. That's the flexibility approach where you're not locked in for life. So we got 1,645,000 left there. Let's say you want to bump it up to 4%, 3,200 a month. That's a little over 40,000, but 40 doesn't divide as easily as 30 by 12. Do the same thing. So you spend 4%. And a lot of people, and again, it'd be, if you got a $500,000 portfolio, then you're looking at a $15,000 to $20,000 withdrawal every year. It's the same thing. So all you do is cut these numbers in half if you're at 500,000. Cut them by a quarter if you got 250. But I know a lot of people that are 250 to 500. Hey, I just need an extra $10,000, $12,000 a year. Pension, Social Security, maybe rental income or any other thing. And it's just supplemental discretionary income. So my measure of wealth is based on what you need in relation to what you have. If you need 4% or less of your assets, then I consider you to be very well off and well capitalized for retirement. So if you do a $40,000 withdrawal, boom, 1,360,000 left. Still incredible. Never have to worry about it. Never pay fees. No concern. Increasing wealth through retirement at 4% withdrawal rate. That's what 5% can do. I've said this for years. It's amazing what you can do with a 5% fixed annuity. You can solve all problems in retirement. So that's pretty consistent to me, to be honest with you. Now, I think we're about done with that. Stop sharing. And I'm going to look at this, but it's so simple. And I look at it and say, man, this is what's available. We're not talking about index annuities. And again, I still like the split because some people want a little bit more potential. You want some excitement, right? The index annuity that might give you 10, 12% in a year. Oh, yay, I made money. Because then everybody's going to ask about inflation. Well, growing your money, not losing it's number one. Then you got to grow it. Because we're not going to have this level of inflation all the time. We get inflation back to 2-3%, your fixed annuities are going to be back down to 2-3%. And then you're going to say, oh man, I should have bought that 4.5%, 5.5% annuity, right? The key to look at here is if you spend less money than you make, your assets are going to grow. Okay. It's, I'm not trying to patronize anybody, but that's as simple as it gets. It's as difficult as you need to make it. So at a 5% fixed, you can spend 5% of your asset, maintain the balance over time. And I'll still argue that that's a pretty good inflation hedge because you still have control over all of your assets, legacy, market volatility, fees, all that stuff, right? So I'm not here to tell anyone to put all the money into an annuities, but with results like this, it stands to reason that everybody should probably do a little bit of it, right? What do we have that's getting 5%? Only annuities. The best 5-year CD I see in the market right now, some of them privately that don't publish them, I see 4.25% for 5 years. No liquidity. If it's non-qualified, you pay taxes every year, right? Annuities are always just a touch better. Anyway, so that's just a lesson for everybody today, and I hope everybody can kind of sit back and think about it. It's like, oh yeah, maybe I should get an annuity. Last week, I kind of did the hard pitch, like the time to buy is now. We got the best stuff available. Will it go higher? Maybe. I don't know. Not quite sure about that. So only time will tell, but nothing wrong with getting into a little bit of it right now. Anyhow, so I want to say thanks to Kirk. It was great spending time with you. I look forward to maybe doing it again sometime. He provided the inspiration for this post. That's funny thing is one question that he asked made me rethink. So everything on the website, my advice is going to be consistent, but I got to go back and probably revisit all this stuff given the rates we have available today. Now, I don't know how long they're going to last, but I will, I'll change what needs to be changed and update everything to reflect the new environment. But the strategies are going to be the same. We're just working with different tools. So I want to thank everybody for joining me for episode 63, 24 hours with an annuity specialist. Kirk, I hope you got something good out of it and enjoyed it as much as I did. I could tell you stories about the hunt afterwards. We had nice weather when he was in there. It was very pleasant riding in a t-shirt kind of thing. Then we got rain and then it froze. Everything was frozen solid and it was tough, but I had a wood stove. We were nice and comfy, warm in the tent. So no big deal. But anyway, episode 63, 24 hours with an annuity specialist. That's it. If you want to make an appointment with me, top right corner of any button or any page on the website, there's a schedule a call button. If you want to make an appointment, the number is 800-438-5121. Subscribe to YouTube or your favorite podcast platform to be notified when each episode is released. Give it a thumbs up, like it if you appreciate what I'm doing. It helps me out in the rankings and gets this out to more people. If you have any questions, you can give me a call or set up an appointment. I'm here. So thanks again for joining me, and you guys all have a great day. Okay, bye.
You have been listening to Annuity Straight Talk. The preceding information is for informational and educational purposes only and does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. The views expressed by guests on this program are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Annuity Straight Talk or its partners. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. It is important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the insurance company.